everyone. Welcome back to Bills and Business, the podcast where government, innovation, and entrepreneurship collide. I'm your host, Laura Carr, co-founder of USLege, where we make government more efficient with technology. Joining me today is my CTO and co-founder, Ben Brewer, the engineering mind behind USLege. Ben's built software across cybersecurity, healthcare, AI for energy, and now he's really passionate about bringing smart tech to the policy world. Today, we're breaking down AI, especially to our political pros who still see it as a black box. Spoiler alert, it's not. It's not here to replace you. It's here to make you more human. Let's get into it. Well, you're saying you've been more behind the scenes. You're a CTO. You're building all day. So for those who haven't, read your bio on on the website, can you tell everybody a little bit more about you and how you came to USLege?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey everyone, I'm Ben Brewer. I'm the CTO of USLege. I've worked for a series of startups and other software companies over the past few years. I've actually tried to start my own venture during COVID. I actually did it as a solo founder, and it was brutal. I don't think I'll ever do that ever again. It was hard working or managing in every single department, and you end up doing everything very poorly. So I actually tried to do that twice and realized that, I really want co-founders. I want someone to be in this with. So we met through YC, and it was love at first sight.
What is YC for those who don't know?
YC Combinator. YC Combinator is, so they're a startup accelerator, but they're also a VC firm as well. And they essentially have a platform for co-founder matching. And I'm not sure, at some point you decided to go on there too, and I decided as well, and we just matched. It's almost like online dating.
It's a dating app for founders, for sure.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, so share a little bit about your experience on YC. I know you were on there for months, taking your time, looking, and I was on there for 2 months. interviewing every day. I think pretty similar to you. We got so lucky finding you. I really see it similar to online dating because I saw your profile and I said to Eric, that's the guy. And I swear before meeting you, and it was because you'd said a few things that were different to other people. And one that really struck my attention was you said, nobody I have ever managed has left my team. Mm-hmm. And that stood out to me because the big thing that, in addition to technical competency, I wanted to see somebody who was a good person and I knew would work well with the team. And so that was a huge factor for me. And I said that, and then Eric met you and like, okay, yeah, this is the guy. And then we definitely tried to woo you for a while because you had a lot of offers. Tell us about that experience.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great. It's great that I have a lot of suitors.
You did.
No, but yeah, so we met on YC. First of all, thank you for the compliments. That's
sure.
I hold those in very high regard, so I appreciate it so much. So I signed up for YC initially because I wanted to start a venture. It was just that time. I was hungry for it. I worked at a previous company where I'd done that, and I've worked for a couple different startups now, and I was just ready to found my own venture. I felt like I saw how it worked. And there's something that's extremely invigorating about it that you just don't get actually being a non-founder. You probably see it now, right?
Yeah,
it's totally different, right?
It's totally different.
So I really just wanted to take the plunge. I'd done a lot of reading. I felt like I'd kind of observed it from the outside, but I just was ready to go for it. So I actually started on Reddit, just kind of scrolling through and reading about some opportunities. And I saw one discussing, they were saying, has anybody actually met their co-founder on Y Combinator? And so it kind of intrigued me a little bit. And I read some more, and there were very mixed reviews. There was, oh, no, this is a terrible platform. And then there were a lot of like, oh yeah, like I'm working with my co-founder and we actually raised funds. So I signed up. I didn't really know what I was getting into. It's like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And it actually kind of blew me away because I imagine, I've actually never done any online dating, but I imagine if you sign up on, Tinder, Hinge, or some sort of dating platform, you could probably enter a pretty quick bio and get started. But this was very in-depth. This was thorough. I had to enter a lot of information, and I kind of entered, I would say the bare minimum just to see who was out there. And there's some serious talent out there. I found some pretty big names from some large tech who were working on some really interesting stuff, and yeah, it was quite an experience. So I decided, I was like, wow, this is actually a legit platform. Like I can find someone really good out here to partner with. And so yeah, I tried to make a really good bio because I feel like that's going to increase your chances more than anything.
Sure.
And yeah, we ended up finding each other, partnering. We actually had a lot of conversations beforehand too.
Yeah.
And I feel like we took our time well enough to establish that we would be a good founding pair. I remember one time, actually towards the end, we actually had a 2-hour-long conversation, and you and Eric were both just chatting with me. I was sitting outside on my porch, and we were just talking about life, getting to know each other, because we spent so much time also just discussing the business opportunity and technicals that I actually didn't feel like we had that sort. I didn't know how it would be, but after just sitting down and spending some time with you all, I walked away and I knew that that's what it was love at first sight, and it was true. It was true love.
I know. It's been fun having you here, like living in Austin. I think, yeah, it just feels very right, part of the team, which is really cool.
Yeah, it feels right.
It does. What kind of stuff were you seeing out there in the business world? What were people looking to found?
Oh, wow. I mean, it was everything. I don't even know if I could begin to start on that because I probably scrolled through thousands of profiles. So maybe this is kind of interesting, but I would describe myself as someone who tries to really put statistics into things and not perceive life as an outlier of statistics. I mean, a great example is, so startups actually have a very low percentage chance of being successful.
Right.
And even at some point when you feel like you're at a stage of success, that could all be taken away from you as well, right?
Right.
It's
sure.
It's pretty challenging. So I was really trying to look for what I thought would be, that small percentage chance of success. But then there's a whole nother set of factors with it as well, in terms of just viability of co-founders, because I saw a lot of opportunities that were pretty intriguing to me. Some actually in the electrical vehicle industry at the time. I remember I saw one that I thought was pretty interesting there. But, maybe after talking with having an initial call with the founder, or kind of reading their bio or doing a little bit of research, I just felt like it wasn't the right opportunity for me. So there's so many factors that come into play in terms of, you want to be set up for success, I would say, at least on like an initial viable sort of business model or plan of action. And then something else I was looking for as well was have they done the research? That was a big one. I saw a lot of founders on YC that I just felt they were still at that stage where they hadn't actually proven their product or their market or their business.
Sure.
So that's actually something that I really, really liked about USLege, was that I think you had done the work.
We did a lot of research.
Yeah.
We were ready.
Yeah. I felt like you were a subject matter expert in the area. You knew a lot about the customer base and sort of, I mean, you lived a lot of the problems we're solving now.
Sure. I think, is that what, at the end of the day, drew you in the most to USLege? Obviously, it's a combination of everything. You have to have the relationship, trust in your founder, but also believe in them, trust in the concept and believe in it. What drew you into it, like the final closer?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say it was a couple things. One is I really liked it. I mean, in a lot of ways, it was what I was looking for. I really like the founding team. So
thanks,
I feel like we have great chemistry.
Yeah.
Great chemistry. Even on the worst days, actually, without going on a tangent, I actually do not think I could pick a single day I was fuming mad or very upset or anything like that.
Same.
Right. Like that's I don't think there's many founding teams that can say that. I think we resolve differences very well. And even if we're on opposing sides, we're working through stuff. Right?
That's really true. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No bloody fights.
No. And there's disagreements all the time, but none that we deal with things well. Yeah. Good mediator, I think. Ben?
Yeah, so I really like the founding team. I was interested in the market as well because political tech is not something that I had I didn't know much about it. And I also think there's sort of these niche or different opportunities were very interesting to me. And when you kind of explained the problem, and I did some more research into it, I also just thought it was a very challenging problem set to solve because there were other interesting opportunities that I was entertaining and evaluating at the time. But something I saw that was really special in the opportunity here is that there were multiple, ideas and thoughts running through my head. And I was like, wow, these are hard problems to solve. These are not going to be easy. So that challenging aspect to it really drew me in as well, because I want to push myself. And some of the other ones, I didn't know if I would actually end up getting to a point where, it would actually challenge me that much.
I was going to ask, how complex is it to build what I dream of building? Because, I have so many ideas.
Yeah.
And my dream, the baby AI robot, right? It just does all the things for you. How challenging is that to build with all the data and the political data that there is?
Yeah, so I would say as far as challenging goes, the entire ecosystem is a mix of very challenging things and not so challenging things. And that's kind of how software is in general, building software. But as a whole, I would consider it on the higher level of complexity in terms of a lot of software, for sure.
A lot of our listeners are more on the policy side, potentially the business side, but they're not on the engineering side. So Can you help break it down of what is engineering?
What is engineering? So engineering can be a lot of things, but with regards to how we're essentially practicing engineering, engineering is essentially, I would kind of describe it as all of the efforts involved in actually building the technicals surrounding the platform, the political platform that we are delivering to customers. So from a high level, it's essentially a lot of data aggregation. So pulling in data from various sources. Normally they're a selection of government publicly available data that's presented in a way that's either hard to access or possibly unlinked together. So we're ingesting a lot of that data behind the scenes, and we are organizing it and building relationships. And that kind of gets into actually the core problem one of the core problems we're trying to solve, which is the way the government displays a lot of the data. It's all segregated between different operations or different systems all over the place. And actually, in a lot of ways, how they're structured, they can't bring it together because one agency is over here and another agency is over here and the legislature is over here. And some of that data is all linked together. And so one of the things we're doing right now is we're taking all of this data and aggregating it and essentially ingesting it in a way that then makes it queryable through our platform and through AI.
Very cool. And I know when I first started working with you, I had a lot to learn on the engineering side. Like, things take time.
Sure.
They're so complex. And I would have a great idea. I'd be like, oh, I think this is the best idea ever. But then it would be like, okay, yeah, and that will take 6 months to build. So speccing it out is always really hard. So
Sure.
So a lot of people who are listening are on the policy side, as I mentioned. And a lot of our customers, too, get really excited, like me, with different ideas for platforms and software and what you could potentially create. But it sometimes takes so much more time than ever expected. So What is something that's typically, people who are not engineers would not think that this is hard, but is surprisingly really challenging to build or do?
Yeah, so actually the hardest thing some of the bigger challenges we run into would actually be around human entered data. Because if you think about it, a lot of government data is actually manually entered by humans. Okay? So,
Dang humans.
I know. You can't trust humans. No, but it's manually entered by humans, and humans make mistakes all the time. So you end up with systems, and I mean, a great example is actually our witnesses directory, I would say. The number of individuals that show up to testify that misspell their name or misspell their organization or just enter something crazy, it's all over the place. And it's very hard to actually link them together, because if you testify on behalf of organization XYZ and your name is John Smith, and then there's another John Smith, how do you know if they're the same John Smith or not?
Right.
And sometimes they misspell their name or change things. So actually linking some of the data is very difficult just because of human error. And actually, we had something crazy happen the other week, but
What was that?
it was really funny. But so part of our platform, we track legislative videos, right, and agency videos. So we pulled in an agency video on the Canal Commission, some sort of Canal Commission, and whoever entered the data in the system forgot the C, and not the C on commission. So the video that was posted was the anal commission, and so it makes us kind of look crazy when we end up posting a video that says anal commission, and then a user, they go and they're like anal commission, and then they go and look on the government website and it's been corrected on that end, but we haven't corrected it because we just pulled it in that first time. And then they say, hey, just so you know, yeah, you posted a video on the anal commission. And it's just like crazy.
That makes
with
sense.
Bills too. They'll enter the wrong bill, and then they'll undo it. And then we have a random bill floating in the system that doesn't exist. Or it's just, and then our system starts breaking or something because it's like, well, this bill doesn't exist. I can't get any more information from it. So part of this like manual data entry, I mean, it's actually step by step, and it comes in at different times too. So there's a lot of timing involved with it, where as a legislative professional, timing is actually a huge aspect and actually one of the hardest problems. So you also have like swaths and giant sets of government data that you want to pull in and get people as much information as possible within a certain time, actually running through and pulling in that data as fast as you can and efficiently requires a lot of essentially mapping things out and saying, okay, well, this comes in at this time, this comes in at this time. How can you decrease that time? And combined with just human error, it's pretty challenging to actually build, a really solid core data set, because that's what powers the entire ecosystem and the vision you were speaking about as well.
No, it's crazy, but it makes so much sense, because just one misspelling on human error can change the entire meaning of a word, and that would confuse the AI too. Like if we're giving AI context and it missed canal, it can't understand. Like you have a shipping company and you need to know about this canal. Well, you wouldn't get flagged for that information because it's completely changed the meaning now. So that makes sense that the AI wouldn't even be able to understand it, because it's not.
Those are two different commissions.
Very different commissions. I love that so much. Ben, what's been your favorite thing to build at USLege so far? You built I say 90% of the app, but how much of the app?
It's less than that now. It was at one point, but we have a great engineering team at this point. Man, I rely on them for everything. They're awesome. They're awesome. Even if we actually have one who is on a slight sabbatical right now. We're anxiously anticipating their return.
She needs to come back. Rachel's the best.
I know.
We miss Rachel.
We're anxiously anticipating her return. But yeah, so man, there's so many interesting things. I almost think, I don't think it's the answer you're looking for, but I would almost say I'm more interested in what's coming next than what we've built so far.
Sure.
And here's why. In the first stage, kind of what I've been talking about is we're collecting massive amounts of data, correct?
Yes.
So that is the first stage. But where it really gets interesting is when you start building this map and start mapping data together and start building relationships. And you almost end up with some sort of graph type model where you see, this data over here is linked to this data, because the number of data points around a single bill are absolutely extraordinary.
Right.
And all all of this data is publicly available. And a lot of times, I think it's very easy to see them as separate entities. It's like, okay, I'm tracking this bill, or this bill has text, it has an author, it has all of stuff. But it also has a lot of data points around what different individuals said about it, what different individuals, how they reacted to even different statements, how the public feels about it, who came out to actually testify against it. What sort of organizations, we track lobbyists as well through the Texas Ethics Commission. And, using AI, you can make a lot of really interesting inferences around that and say, if you can pull out bills and actually extract the industries that they affect based off of the text and look at that sort of reasoning, you start building out a very interesting map of who's likely to track what, which actually gets into predictive analysis with a lot of AI. And another one is actually AI workflows, which I would say we're just getting started on. We haven't even really hit this one hard yet. But we're building out a lot of really interesting tooling, and I think helpful tooling at the core. But when we start really building out like an entire workflow to where you don't have to, go in the application and click a bunch of buttons every single day, where it just delivers what you want to you without you having to look through the 98% of text that you don't care about, that's where it gets really interesting. And that's right around the corner for us.
It is really exciting. Do you think lobbyists and engineers have any similarities? Because you mentioned something that really struck me just now. We're building these workflows and it's data analysis, but that's what all these lobbyists have been doing for years on top of their normal job, which is meeting with people and influencing and debating things. So is there a parallel you can draw between engineers and lobbyists here?
Between engineers and lobbyists. Well, I would say lobbyists are almost doing political engineering in a lot of ways.
That's good.
So they're building some sort of workflow or some sort of, engineering doesn't actually have to be, I sit at my computer and, write code. It can be, okay, I track bills so I can do this. It's an outcome or perceived outcome, and then you're working backwards to get that perceived outcome. So if you're targeting, you want a certain bill to end up, passing through, or maybe you don't want a bill to pass through. There's many different opportunities on how to get that bill, passed through, and I'm still learning a lot about it. So in no way, shape, or form am I an absolute lobbying expert, but I would imagine that with my analogy that, the outcome that you want to have happen, you have a lot of different opportunities or different methods in order of how to achieve maximum success on the outcome. So I would say lobbying is essentially political engineering in a lot of ways, to where you're trying to get that outcome and you're trying to figure out your best course of action and what levers you can pull or what sort of systems to put in place. Oh, if I do this, then this might happen and this might happen. So that's maybe the highest parallel I can draw.
That's cool. What is your day like these days? You're managing a big team now. You're doing a phenomenal job of it while still also developing. So what does your day-to-day look like with the team that you have?
Sure. So right now, historically I built, 100% of the app. And then as we added more and more teammates, that time decreased. I think at this point, probably maybe 50% of the code base has my name on it, but it's getting less and less, and it should be.
Right.
So I would say my day-to-day looks like a mix of 2 to 3 things normally. I'm planning a lot of projects at this point. So we're collaborating some. I'm collaborating with other stakeholders at this point. Really weird that we have stakeholders at this stage.
Right. I know.
Seems like it was just us 3 recently.
Yeah.
But I'm collaborating with different departments to actually take a lot of their requirements and distill them down into projects. I'm also working in product a lot to help us prioritize those endeavors and figure out what we should build, how we should build it, when it should be built, those sort of questions. And I'm delivering a lot of those requirements to the engineering team. So actually doing some preliminary scoping, trying to set the team up for success. So we build the right things. And it's very hard as an engineer, I would say, to always have an entire idea of how the business, how something they're building impacts the entire business or gain that visibility. It's very easy, I would say, to get tunnel vision. So as much as possible, I'm trying to really convey the impact to them in a lot of the features and the endeavors that we're building to say, hey, this is why we're building it. And I think that actually makes you a better engineer if you also know why you're building it. Because in the past, I've gotten projects and I knew what I was building, but I had no idea why.
Sure.
So I think that actually builds a lot of, that helps us build more of a cohesive product. And I mean, it surprises me a lot of times, but I will deliver essentially kind of like a project to engineering and say, hey, this is what we want done. This is why we want it. And I would say more often than not now, there's pieces of the project or pieces of the feature or requests that come back that are better than I anticipated or something I didn't think about because engineers understand why they're actually building it as well. So they find things that on the surface level you might have missed or something that you didn't quite see, but since they're actually the ones engineering it, building it, they'll come back and with something better than you anticipated and imagined. So I'm doing that, and then I'm trying as much as possible to, I would say, firefight, or if there's any sort of request where customers are very frustrated with something going on, maybe it's like, oh, I can't do this. I try as much as possible to turn things around very, very quickly for customers if something's not going as well as.
Yeah, you've done a great job on that. And I also find it really interesting that, which is just a great thing that you've done. Everybody who's new, an engineer coming on, you've requested to be on a sales call. So they can meet with the customer and hear their questions and their requests and their excitement. Mm-hmm. I think that's so key in what we're building and having that as part of the flow. Absolutely.
I mean, engineering is a small component of the entire ecosystem of what we're building.
Right.
We could take the entire engineering team and throw them at problems that are perceived problems, and it's a work smart, not hard sort of deal in a lot of ways. You can also get really far with smaller engineering teams too, because I mean, from your perspective, I mean, it's we've grown a lot since it was just me, but we also still have a really small, lean, efficient team that's very knowledgeable in what we're building too, and I think that helps us move incredibly fast and deliver on our roadmap as well.
How do you source and choose the people that we hire at USLege? What's your process?
Yeah, so...
Well, you don't have to give away the secret sauce, but what's your requirements? Right, don't give away the Krabby Patty formula.
Yeah, I'll hide it. Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, there's a couple traits at the core. I think for a lot of engineering, first of all, you have to really figure out, I think, what you're looking for. So with engineering, it's like hiring any position. There's always varied skill sets. And at some point, you want a bit of a layered skill set, I would say. So we have engineers of I would say, various time in the field. We have some seniors and some newer engineers as well to the field. But one of the things I look for is really, are they hungry for it? I think with what we're building, especially at a startup stage, you really have to be hungry. You have to be excited. You have to be extremely motivated. This isn't in a lot of ways a sort of show up 9 to 5 sort of job.
Sure.
You have to be a driver.
Mm-hmm.
And especially I would say with a lot of the advancements in AI too, you kind of now also have to be a manager, I would say, and a good communicator, because something that I'm seeing more and more is that with AI, that's a great tool. If you're a good communicator and a good engineer, oh man, you're dangerous. You're dangerous because you can prompt AI and help orchestrate AI to actually write a lot of the solution for you. So communication, I would say competency. And then finally, I would say some sort of diverse aspect. The engineers we have on the team, I would say they each brings something a little bit different to the table. And I don't know, it's just kind of like, I would say a special, that's kind of the secret sauce.
We won't talk about it.
Yeah, that's probably the
Je ne
secret
sais quoi.
sauce.
Something unique. This is it.
Oui. But yeah, so I would say like something a little bit different to the table. Like having diversity, I would say on some capacity brings you know, it brings a unique flavor to the team. Like on the data and AI side, we have engineers who've worked in healthcare, and healthcare data is some of the hardest data out there. You know, so bringing that sort of experience, I would say, into the field, that they all the time, like they'll find things, even things like I built back in the day, and they're like, yeah, this shouldn't be built this way. I'm like, great.
Fix it. That's perfect.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that sort of unique flavor that everybody brings to the team is what really makes it and rounds out all of our edges.
I love it. You've been doing a great job on it. So proud of you.
It's the team.
The team's great. I'm excited to see everybody this summer coming together. So
absolutely.
Let's jump in a little bit more to some of what our customers are dying to know. So we talk about AI a lot. They really are. And a lot of them have told me before this episode things to ask you and things they want to know from you. And
okay.
One thing we talk about all the time is just AI. What is it? How's it changing the game? And there's a lot we don't know. But in my eyes, I say AI is making you more human. I love to say that. And I really see it because it helps me do my job more efficiently and better. Sure. It presents me with more information than I ever could collect on my own, even with a huge team. You know, being able to delegate that or being able to prompt something saves me so much time. So how do you see it? And do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's a little bit of a spicy opinion.
I know.
Right? So do you want to actually unpack? Because I actually came to you and I said, I mean, I kind of imagine what your take was on that, but do you want to actually just kind of give your take, what you're saying? When you say AI is making us more human, what is your opinion on that? What does that mean to you?
So if you're sitting behind a computer doing a data analysis for your more relationship building profession, that to me seems like a waste of your capabilities and your potential and your skill set. So for me, it really was because like you mentioned, there's disparate pieces of data all over the place that I would have to go and try and analyze. And then what was that for? Just so I had that information so that I could go and lobby something or someone. But I needed all that information before. So for example, say I am lobbying on an issue. I need to have done my homework. I need to have known every single thing that happened in the past. Has this bill come up before? Is this a brand new bill? If it's brand new, what's similar? What's happened in the past that I can look at to know how people would even react to this type of legislation? What's my possibility or probability of passing it? There's so many things that I have to go and look at to find from like witnesses, who's going to be against it. The first thing when someone's trying to pass a bill is like, well, who opposes it? As a staffer, that was something I asked every lobbyist that I met with. You know, who is the opposition to this bill? So I can kind of build a data point of, okay, this is going to be easy to pass, or this is going to be really tough to pass, and do I even want to pass it? Are the stakeholders in this going to be too angry? Is it worth my time to do? There's so much strategy there. And what I feel like AI can do in the future, because it can do a lot now, but what we are building will be able to do a lot more of that, bringing things right to you of considerations you may never have even had on something. So there's a little bit of a long-winded way of saying how it would really help me and how it is helping me in this job, but really how it would have helped me in the policy world.
I see. So essentially, your point of view is that AI is taking all of those, pick this up, move it across, put it over here, tertiary job functions from your day-to-day or your role, and extracting those away from you so you can perform your primary responsibilities at your job and not spend time being a manual data entry.
Exactly. Manual data entry is my absolute, just the worst thing I could ever be utilized for because I'm bad at it, Ben. I am bad at it. There were so many times I had to format a document in my past or type up a transcription, and it was terrible for one. It took me so much time, and it wasn't motivating for me. It wasn't exciting. So I think there's a lot of people who feel that way similarly, but I know it's a spicy one. So I was just curious.
It's a spicy take. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, what I would say, I would largely agree with that statement. So basically, as humans, there's kind of almost like this big humanity aspect to it too, where in some regards, since the beginning of time, we've always had some sort of roboticism involved, I would say.
How so?
So let's say way back in the day, hunting and gathering. If you're gathering, you're picking crops or picking some sort of agriculture over and over and over and over again. But that also might be like your entire job too. And as time has gone on, we've continuously abstracted things as humans. And this is actually what I think is really fascinating about AI, but as humans, there's something I think innate in all of us to endlessly innovate and constantly explore.
Sure.
And at some point, I feel like, at some point, so many different individuals out there have been standing at the edge of a body of water and just wondered what's out there. And I think we're explorers. So I think actually AI is very human in that it is just the next stage of evolution of humanity because we just constantly innovate. And I don't think it's something like we're dissatisfied with reality, but it's more like we're always looking forward and we're always, taking something and we're building something else on top of it. We're builders and we're innovators and we're explorers. And AI is in a lot of ways just that next stage in that.
I definitely agree to a certain extent. I know it's been very surprising actually how open and excited majority of people are about AI for a lot of use cases, right? There's obviously really bad use cases for it and can be used for evil, literally, I think.
Sure.
But for, what we're doing, great. And I met literally one person in my entire time of talking to customers over the last year.
Okay.
Who was skeptical of it.
Okay.
And she turned around, actually. By the end of the meeting, she turned around, which was really cool. And so and now she's a customer. And so I found that good to see.
Okay.
What types of things do you think AI will never be able to do and have capability of doing?
I think the things that it could actually never do are really around human based interaction.
You said it, not me. Yes.
True. So if AI is taking a lot of that off of our plates, we should have more time to do that. So I do agree with what you're saying. Yeah.
I do, because I really think it's giving me so much more time to do that. Like if I'm sending an invitation to something, for instance, something I'm doing today.
Right.
I mean, that just took me way less time using AI than it would have a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Manually having to do all the different iterations of the invitation and the versions for each individual and sending it, and it would have taken me so much more time. So I think that's good. Now, another thing that is kind of very hot right now, but not as many people on the policy side talk about, is AI agents.
AI agents.
Can you dumb that down for everybody for us and explain what they are?
Sure. I'll try. So I'll kind of also talk about what AI actually means when people are talking about AI today.
Sure, that'd be great.
So when you say AI, what people are actually talking about today most of the time is an LLM.
Yes.
All right. So it's kind of a misnomer in a way, but like we've had AI for years and years and years to some capacity. Right. I mean, I remember when Siri first came out, I was kind of blown away a little bit. Wait, I can send a text by talking into my phone, right? And now it doesn't seem like that's AI comparatively.
Sure.
So what people are referring to are LLMs, which are large language models, which essentially are these massive AI ecosystems, which basically have billions or trillions of parameters, and they are doing the best they can to essentially syntactically respond to a question in a nutshell. So that's kind of what people mean when they say AI nowadays. And then with the AI agents, that's something that's really just brand new. That hasn't even actually been a concept until I would say like the past year or months.
Right.
It's brand new. It's something I'm still learning a lot about it. I think we all are. But essentially, an AI agent has an autonomy associated with it as well. So a lot of people are familiar with ChatGPT, or at this point, even Gemini. If you ask a question on Google, a lot of times you get that AI response at the top without having to even scroll, right? That's an LLM responding here. What differentiates a AI agent from an LLM is an LLM could be part of an AI agent, but the AI agent has some autonomy around it. If you search on Google or you search on ChatGPT, you're the one essentially making the request, and all it's doing is processing your request and distributing a response back to you as best it can. But with an AI agent, there's that level of autonomy. So you essentially have a decision maker, which is AI, that is then prompting some sort of set of tools. And those set of tools could be your mouse, it could be your keyboard, it could be the browser. And so a good example of an agent is you could basically have an agent that goes and looks at your calendar every single day and does XYZ for you. And it may run into situations where you have something new on your calendar or something it hasn't seen before, and it has to autonomously figure out, what should I do with this event? So maybe with your wedding invitation, an AI agent that was watching your calendar may see that you have a wedding coming up in a month, and it may anticipate and say, hey, you need to send out this wedding invitation. You need this amount of time to send this out. No one's going to show up at your wedding if you don't send out invitations like at this time. And it may, on its own, accordingly, send out an invitation to all of your guests. That would be an AI agent. So it's actually making the decisions behind it in an autonomous way. And that's something actually we're just starting to see, and something we're going to see more and more and more in practically every single capacity you can think of.
Right. And it's going to be starting with those really easy, simple tasks that no one wants to do, I think. Right. Booking flights.
Booking flights is a great example. That's actually the other one I was thinking of.
That one I found that's a really cool agent. Just go one button, book the flight, put it on the calendar.
Yep.
Cheapest, easiest, quickest, all the parameters. It knows everything you like. That is really cool. I've had to book a lot of flights in my day. So I love that.
Not anymore.
I know. How do you see and predict AI impacting lobbying and agents impacting lobbying?
Yeah, absolutely. So in a lot of ways, I think things are going to look vastly different than they do now. So my expectation is that you're going to see a lot of AI bills in the future, would just be my guess. And really it comes down to, I think, the sort of level of autonomy associated with agents. And I think you're going to see endeavors to heavily regulate this, or at least figure out how much regulation we should have involved with these. Okay. And the real reason is that an AI agent is something if we're saying the definition of an agent is something that has some level of autonomy, it's essentially making decisions on its own, right? We gave the calendar example. It's going to look at it and saying, hey, this is happening at this stage. And so what happens if that AI agent does something illegal, for example?
Right.
I don't know how our current set of laws are currently structured to hold anyone accountable. Like, do you go and hold the person that designed it? Because they actually designed it to be like autonomous. So do you kind of go after them? Do you need like some sort of protections in place over that? Right? It's a hard question to answer. And I don't think it's one where it's like, oh yes, we should heavily regulate AI, or oh, we should. It's not that. It's more just that in the future, I think you're going to see more and more AI bills, and it's going to be a really heavy subject for the next legislative sessions, is my prediction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because people have different ideas on how much regulation is good or not, right? Like everybody has a different opinion. depending on where you're sitting. And I don't think it's even so much how much it should be regulated. It's more just that this is coming. Like I see a lot of bills in the future related to AI and specifically agents coming down the pipeline in the coming years. A lot.
I actually don't think there's been very many bills that even talk about AI agents yet. And there was one bill recently that's moving through as House Bill 149, which is the big AI bill from Chairman Capriglione.
Sure.
And one actually cool thing that's in there is an AI sandbox kind of program that you can apply to as a company to have a safe space to start playing around with certain systems that the government's actually monitoring and checking out. Mm-hmm. So it's actually really interesting for industry and different companies to apply for that if this bill passes September 1st. So that's just an interesting one to look into. But sure. I do agree the legality of who's at fault kind of makes me look back onto the self-driving cars era.
Sure.
You know, right. That the technology's there and has been for 10 years. Like when I was a baby on Capitol Hill, 19 years old as an intern, I was going to autonomous vehicle hearings. But the hearings were, this technology, we could really do this now. It's expensive, but we can do it. But who's at fault when the car is deciding, you know, in a catastrophic situation, there's a crowd or there's a mother and a baby, who does the car have to hit? You know, that question is who's at fault? And that is just, I think, the actual reason that we're seeing not enough of it and people still having those roadblocks because legally we still haven't figured it out. So I think it's also that, you know, intersection of innovation and then regulation because everybody wants to innovate and there's so many amazing things like agents, so many use cases for this now. There's going to be so many new startups and cool companies that come out that are game changing that will be using this tech. So it's a really tough one.
You're completely right. You're completely right. It's really the question of like how much, I think, more than anything, right? Because like Texas fully believes this wholeheartedly, hands down, has the opportunity to be the leader, not just in the US, but actually in the world for AI.
Right.
We're in a great position there, right?
Right. Totally.
I think a lot of people see that. And because that's the case, if you overregulate it, you're going to really just miss that opportunity. But also, I don't think anybody is pro evil AI out there that's making autonomous evil decisions.
There might be some people, but most people are not. Yeah.
But like, I mean,
totally.
That's just like the whole reason we have laws in general, right? It's to, you know, enforce ideally a reasonable amount of regulation that, you know, offers protections and other things in place, but also does not crush innovation and industry. And in a lot of ways, you could actually probably regulate it in a way where, you know, you might even support that and you're also putting protections in place. So like there are regulations that are also like, I would say pro AI that also protect it as well from these certain things. So it's all I know is it's coming. I seriously see a flood of AI bills coming in the future.
I think so.
That's my prediction.
You mentioned just AI being autonomous. I think with decision making, this is where more people will get involved in decision making. Like AI should not be making these government decisions or these legislative decisions ever. And that's where I do see, you know, a lot of our customers on the advocacy side, on the inside in the building and the lobby side, there's no replacement for that because nobody is for a decision maker that is not a human at this point in time. I just don't see it happening. So,
in that regards, absolutely.
So that's where it's actually a really safe industry to serve as well for a lot of purposes because our customer base is not going anywhere, right? They're not being replaced anytime soon.
Absolutely. I mean, they have AI girlfriends now and they have boyfriends and
that is that's a whole other tangent there. Goodness me. But oh my God.
But it's the same thing. It's not the real thing. It's not even close.
Well, what excites you most about where all this is going?
Man, what excites me the most about where all this is going is I think there is an absolute world of opportunity to maximize your lifestyle around the things that you want to be doing without all of the noise around it, which is kind of what you're saying. And I think actually it empowers a lot of individuals to do things that they never thought possible. If you want to make a feature film movie as an individual, it's pretty difficult to break into. There's so many different obstacles around getting into the movie industry. You need a lot of capital. It's like, who knows who. And with AI, I mean, I see opportunities where, you can have like a smaller production team, or, like you're just getting started, and you could produce an absolutely beautiful movie.
That is very cool.
Like that sort of thing, I think is like very, very exciting for me. And I think it can really, I don't know. I feel like actually since AI started, I feel much more creative because I don't have to actually spend as much time, tightening that bolt or hitting in that nail. I'm spending much more time orchestrating things. I feel like I've actually looked at code, for example. I've written way back in the day, like even at the start of our company before I was using as much AI, and I was like, who wrote this?
Really?
Oh yeah, like even months and months ago. Yeah, of course. I'm like, who thought of this? This is terrible. Oh, it's all me.
What has shifted? I mean, it just sounds like growth, but what has been the biggest change?
The biggest change in what regards?
For you seeing your transformation of now you're so much better at coding.
I mean, it's just kind of like, I don't know. Have you every single morning you wake up and you look in the mirror, you don't look that different. But then you look at that picture of you a year ago or 2 years ago and 3, and you're like, wow, I'm a little bit older. It's kind of like that, I would say, a little bit. So I don't know if you notice it day to day, but you'll go back and like, even sometimes if you don't have your phone and you're in a new city, you're so dependent on that, maybe for Google Maps or for Apple Maps, you kind of don't know what to do with yourself a little bit. And those are kind of the moments I would say that you really realize that, hey, this has really impacted me a lot. And actually just, having this conversation and thinking through this stuff a little bit. I spend almost all my time at this point thinking about high level. I don't need to, go and read a manual on how to fix something on my car. I can just like sort of type it in and get an answer instantly. And also having it perform those tasks that I just don't want to do every single day. Like I don't want to send out a million wedding invites, right? The fun part is planning the wedding and the celebration with all of your friends and family and the honeymoon. You want to enjoy that. The fun part is probably not sending every single little invitation and like remembering to go and like pay this bill and filing your taxes and those are the parts that are really not very enjoyable as humans. So I see a lot of potential to spend because we have very fixed, like our time here is inelastic. It doesn't change. And so if we can maximize that as much as possible, you're living life to the fullest at that point.
You have the same mission as me in life, I think, Ben. Maximize time and save time. Working smarter,
That's
not
why
harder.
we're like this.
I know, exactly. Well, what you said too really resonates with a lot of growth that you've done. When I look back on things I've done in the past, I cringe. And so I think, okay, great. That means I'm growing.
Yeah, you're
like, dang, what was I thinking? So I think that that's always good. It's a sign of growth for sure.
Absolutely.
So if somebody wants to kind of dip their toe into AI, they're kind of new to it, what kind of workflows would you recommend and where would they start?
Yeah, so probably depends who you are. If you're a legislative professional, you could use USLege. That might be a good spot to start. Sure. But if you're just looking to kind of get started, probably the easiest thing is just ChatGPT or even Google. Like you search something on Google, you kind of get that response. But actually YouTube is a great creator source as well on how to do things. I listen to YouTube religiously. Like I will actually almost treat YouTube as a podcast. I'll be cooking or I'll be, driving, not watching a video, but I'll be driving and sort of press play and just listen to it. And there's so much information and so many opportunities out there to make it easily digestible. You really just getting started with ChatGPT will help dumb this stuff down for you.
And by that, do you mean prompting and asking it to do things and seeing what the capabilities are?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't quite understand what AI is, or you're like, you know what, an LLM that doesn't quite make sense to me. What is this? If you open up ChatGPT, which is an application by the company OpenAI, that's the easiest spot to get started. You can just ask it, and you can start conversing with it. That's actually the easiest spot to just get started. And from there, you can just kind of snowball a bit, figure out what you want to do. I mean, my advice would just be, take a little bit of time to figure it out, because this is totally a compounding effect, as you're saying. Like if you had to, okay, just let's get Laura from 2 or 3 years ago versus Laura today. What percentage increase in effectiveness or efficiency do you think you're operating at now?
I mean,
it's got to be triple digits.
Like, right? 1,000%.
1,000%, right? So
yeah.
If you had never started with AI, you would still be doing all those things, and you'd actually be in the past still. You wouldn't be where you are today. For
sure. Actually, that is so true. Another big piece to it is I've changed my lifestyle completely.
How so?
To focus on the business. When I was in DC, it was an amazing time, but it was very much, there was a party every night. I went to every party. I got home at midnight every night. I woke up at 5, 6 a.m. Was not sustainable. And, but it was really wonderful for my network. And I learned a lot from the people I met and how the process works, how the sausage is made in the Capitol. That's like that. Absolutely what I learned. And then now my life is so different. I am maximizing my efficiency at work, doing what I'm doing. My social life is nowhere near as fun, I would say. And it's crazy, but I like it a lot more. And also being married and in a really steady relationship has really changed my life too, because I don't even have any distraction or anything to think about. So I feel like I'm so much more efficient for those reasons.
Sure.
In addition to AI, which has completely changed my life, and now having a team who are so competent and amazing.
And the team is powered by AI.
And the team's powered by AI. So I feel like we're just going
AI.
Koosh. Is he AI? We'll find out. Maybe he'll come on the show one day. Maybe you'll see. He could be.
Maybe that's why he didn't get his hat.
We could make an AI generated image of him, but no, he'll get his hat. You guys will meet Koosh at some point. But I do think a combination of all these things, the team, the business, AI, everybody's using AI in some capacity. We're supercharged. This is a supercharged business, going faster than I think any business can go, not doing all of these different things or utilizing these tools that are available.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you tell someone, you're like, hey, in a year from now, we can 10 times your money, you can 1,000 times your money all on your own. All you have to do is get started doing this thing and, keep using it. I mean, these are, at this stage too, it's things you don't want to be doing, like you said. I don't want to write that 10-page, paper or email or whatever. I care about things at a higher level. Like I want to, prompt it and say like, hey, it needs to do this. But it's just an absolute time saver. I think if you're not using it at this point in some capacity, you're really just doing a disservice for yourself. And I think there's a lot of, unfortunately, I think there's a lot of doom and gloom sometimes with AI too, in a way. I mean, I see it, the thing that actually drives me the craziest with it is there's swarms of AI influencers on LinkedIn, and I really don't like their content. I think it's either, it kind of freaks you out a bit or something, or it's very clickbaity. So I think also with AI, you have AI generated content that's by a lot of these individuals too. And it's just not, it doesn't have to be a doom and gloom. It's just like any other tool in a way. It's, looking back at the early 2000s too, everything's moving online. And I even remember back in the day, there were a lot of people that were really scared of computers. I actually remember there was a time where people were scared of smartphones and scared of computers and all of these things. And all that does is prolong you coming into, the modern day of society, if you will, I guess. You're actually setting yourself up for a disservice, I would say, if you don't just jump into it and get started somewhere with it. And it's just such a big productivity booster, like you said, where that's you can't afford not to be using it, I would say, to stay competitive in today's world.
I feel like that with students too. And like you said, I remember when it was scary to buy things online, to shop online. That was something just totally frowned upon. And now most people do it for everything. I have so many subscriptions automated now. All my vitamins come on time. I don't have to even worry about it. It's amazing. And that's just automation. And that lets me go and water my garden and make dinner. Go do things with friends and family. Like, that's beautiful. So I do think that is the piece I'll hone in on. There's definitely bad cases and use cases.
Well, you saw me the other day, but I use an AI agent to help me write code. And so sometimes I have to process things a little bit. And I had this weight right next to me. And I was getting in a workout session while I was like building a new feature, because I have to, promise, like, all right, go and do this. And that's like running. I could sit there and watch paint dry, or I could pick up that weight and start doing some curls and some push-ups. And so it's wild now, but I can code for the first time ever. I can code while I'm cooking. I can code while I'm cleaning my bathroom, clean my room, coding. And now the next time you see me in a year, I'm going to have 40 more pounds of muscle just from coding.
We're excited to see. You're going to be skiing and coding. Yeah. That's going to be a big one. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a good one.
That one might be a stretch, but I can try it. It's a challenge.
Well, my walking treadmill desk has changed my life already. I'm walking and working.
I've seen you, yeah.
It is next level. That is some serious efficiency right there. So, already got some cardio in. Ben, it's been such a pleasure having you on. Any final thoughts or things you want to share with our audience or customer base? And even a thank you for everything that they've done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been absolutely a blast building this thing. I shout our praises to the moon. Like, you and Eric, fantastic. Love the team. There's really nothing I can, pinpoint and say like, oh, like, this is very efficient. Like, I'm actually like, I'm happier than I would say I've ever been for like a number of reasons.
Me too.
My entire life. And part of that too is, working with our customer base and building something that I think really has the ability to be extremely impactful to legislative professionals. Because also, I've heard some horror stories about session as well. It's like, it's you get beat down during this thing. And part of why you just get beat down, I would say, is because there is that level of, manual, I have to constantly, track this one thing. I have to constantly go and do this. And a lot of it is not even the core functionality of your role. It's the things surrounding it. I have to file this report. I have to go and, do that stuff. So, that's, what I'm really, really committed to is for, legislative professionals, anyone who's involved, with any sort of legislative tracking. I want to make their lives a breeze. I want them to go and do the primary functions of their job without getting frustrated. And we are working very hard. I've had multiple late nights, long weekends during session to grind some things out. Yeah. So we're working extremely hard, and I'm extremely committed to the cause, and it's been an absolute blast to learn the industry. I learned a lot about legislation that I never knew before either. Like, I thought I had a little bit of a grasp on it. I didn't know anything about it. And there's still so much to learn. So it's just an absolute blessing to work here and to work on the product.
That's so beautiful to hear, and I love it. And it's so good for you just to meet some of our customers and in real life. I think it's so important, and I've seen you grinding, Ben, and really appreciate it. When our customers are up at 1, you're up at 1. I've seen you up super late, and just really appreciate everything you've done to make sure it's the best we can make it. So great work, and thanks for coming on and sharing more.
Thank you for having me on.
Inside. Yeah,
that was a fun conversation. Thank you.
Thanks for being on.